Hello, everybody. I'd like to welcome you to my podcast, Renew Motherhood. And this episode is about empowerment for kids. And I'm so grateful that my guest joins me. It's Simon Badrock. And I would like to give this to you, Simon. Just briefly introduce yourself, please.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Blanka. Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. So my name is Simon Badrock. I'm based in the UK, in Manchester, in Northern England, and I am a kids empowerment coach. Just, yeah, just starting off on my journey, and yeah, I'm here to talk about that.
Yeah, great. So the topic is really to empower kids. How did you come across this? What happened that you find this topic? Because it's not a usual topic. Do you
Yeah,
have
no, it's
kids by
not.
your own?
I have kids of my own. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. I have two step kids, and I have one child with my current partner, who's now 16 years old. The other two are a lot older. They're living they have their own lives, working, and yeah. I yeah, it's not a normal path. I'm not a normal guy. Actually, I come from an engineering background, and yeah, I suppose my own empowerment journey really started probably about 14 years ago. Really, if you look back and connect the dots, it's probably been going on my whole life. But I took the step of leaving my engineering career and moved into yeah, I bought a food truck. Started a
Oh,
food truck.
wow.
And that really was just kind of the start of of my empowerment journey, of just, yeah, just aligning my passion and my purpose. And yeah, so it was a bit of a disaster. I had no idea about business. I
Mhm.
had a family at the time with three kids. I was the only breadwinner,
Mhm.
and yeah, let's say it was a very steep learning curve. And in the end, I after kind of 10 years um, working in food and actually um, you know, creating at one point I had three restaurants. I kind of came to the conclusion and understanding that actually my what I thought was my passion and purpose, I kind of knew from the beginning wasn't really. All I'd done was I just kind of tried to focus on something which I enjoyed doing and which I thought would make money.
Mhm. Well, it's
Uh,
important if you have got a family, somewhere has to bring the money in. So,
yeah, sure, sure, of course it does. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So to do with you know, my current career, which is as a as a kids empowerment coach, that all really fit together and kind of jumped into place when I was doing some coaching myself and working through an exercise. I um, I, I I came up. I wrote it down in my journal. You know, I want to be a kids life coach. This is, you know, this is my true purpose and passion.
yes, that's
And
wonderful.
yeah, when I said that and wrote it down, they say that you can only connect the dots kind of looking backwards. It just kind of, all the pieces of the jigsaw of my life just seemed to fall into place. And yeah, I knew I was onto something.
I think that's crucial because you always think, what's my way, what's my path, what can I do? But you're right on the path. So it's always divine time, isn't it?
Yeah, divine timing. Yeah, that's a very big subject to jump into there, Blanka. But yeah, I truly believe that we are all of us exactly where we need to be at this moment in time, and
And I think,
that
yeah, go on,
mm,
please.
yeah, no, and that if you are willing, then you know the the path will present itself. And
Yes.
yeah, that's what it's done in some extraordinary ways for me over the
It's a good
since I made
reminder, I think, for
that
all of us.
decision.
It's a good reminder for all of us to just say, okay, I can let go all the stress to not be where I'm supposed to be, because you're now in the
Mm,
position just to learn something and to get the information that you need and to experience everything, so that your path, you're stepping on to your path anyway. So
mm,
I
yeah,
think
yeah,
this is,
yeah. In a lot of ways, we are all on our perfect path anyway, and that that it's only really yeah when we step outside that and somehow think that we're not, and that we try and fight and struggle to find the way forward and get back on the path. Yeah, sometimes it's just that kind of letting go that helps us, yeah, helps us be able to. We're actually just giving ourselves space. That's what we don't do a lot
yeah.
nowadays. Is everybody's just so busy, struggling, trying to make ends meet, that we just don't give ourselves space to even consider these sort of questions
Yeah, right. Well,
and
leads
set
me
the
to,
direction for our lives.
yeah, right. Leads me to another question. Um, if parents are worried about their kids, what would be your number one advice for those parents?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. Thank you. So I think if your kids are struggling, usually a parent's first reaction is to start blaming themselves in some way, and in some respect feel like that you have failed somewhere along your somewhere along your journey
Yeah,
as a parent.
right.
And yeah, it's just that understanding that as a parent, you never wake up in the morning thinking, "Oh, how can I, make my child struggle more today?"
Usually
you,
not.
you know, you just get on and you just do the best that you can. That's what the deal is. That's what it's all about, being a parent. And
Sometimes forget this, don't we? We sometimes forget that we are the
yeah,
ones who really
yeah,
want to do
absolutely.
the best.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I think we forget that all the time as parents, that
It's a great reminder for all of us.
yeah, and it's only when we perhaps give ourselves a little bit of space again, or even just hear that from from other people who are looking in onto our lives, because we quite often forget, how far we're actually coming along, and the good that we're doing, and the amazing place that we are, even though we might feel like we're a bit of a failure, or that our kids are struggling and not being able to cope with what life's throwing at them at the moment in some way or another. There's always opportunity and things to be able to give thanks for.
Yes.
Um, yeah, but another another thing which another piece of advice which I'd say really is that, on top of all that, you know, that I'd like to just, you know, present to parents that there are other options available. I know that when my youngest child was going through, you know, quite serious kind of mental health challenges, our immediate our immediate reaction was just to kind of, you know, phone a therapist, or, you know, try and get his brain fixed somehow, you know,
Mhm.
with and we kind of went down that road. And by the time we came out the other side of that, I kind of knew, and this is before I knew anything even about coaching. I kind of knew what I wanted for him. I knew that his problems weren't, you know, serious enough to be, you know, on medication, or, you know, just be, you know, having serious kind of like clinical interventions.
Yeah.
I knew that there was like some path forward for him, whereby, you know, he could be, yeah, you know, encouraged and enabled to empower himself to, which in fact is exactly what he did in the end. And he
Right.
got that, he got through that himself
Wonderful.
without any coaching, you know, any, you know, coach or help or
He has
support.
got you. So
Yeah. Thank you. Um, and yeah, I think there's kind of quite a gaping gap, which I think in a lot of ways the coaching has kind of like just as just roller coasted into to fill over these past, you know, kind of like especially 5 years,
Mhm.
whereby there's just a massive gap between, you know, kids who are really struggling with extreme trauma,
Mhm.
you know, whose best path probably would be with, therapists, you know, psychiatrists, psychologists, and perhaps even medication. Um, but you know, there's a huge gap with kids and parents who are just struggling, you know, with the stresses and strains of today's society. You know, it's life's tough, you
Yeah.
know, for everybody.
Right.
And, you know, just putting your hand up and getting, you know, asking for some sort of support and help there doesn't necessarily, sorry, doesn't mean in any way that, you know, you're a failure. In
Mhm.
fact, you know, it can be quite the opposite. It can be, you know, actually, yeah, you know, I want to, you know, empower myself as a parent, you know, to be able to help and support my child even on you know, uh, uh, you know, even better than I'm doing at the moment, and having a little bit of help, extra help and support doing that, you know, I don't think is I think it's becoming a lot more acceptable now.
Oh, that's a wonderful perspective to change, really, to not being in a victim mode as a parent, to not knowing anything, but to say, I would like to have more, to get more inside of our family, and therefore to step out and to say, hey, can you can you help me? Can you support me? And
Yeah, yeah,
to
yeah.
get the energy in. That's
Yeah, yeah.
great.
Well, I think it's just kind of, you know, digging into that a little bit. You know, there's an old African saying, isn't there, which just came to me then, which is, you know, it takes a village to raise a child. And I think as a society general, I don't know how it is in Germany, but in the UK, you know, we tend to be a lot more insular. You know, my wife is actually a Latin American from Colombia, and you know they're kind of uh, you know their mentality is much more like that, you know, kind of African saying of, you know, taking a village to raise a child. Whereas in the UK, we tend to just kind of like say, no, you know, I've got this, you know, and having that kind of like independent stance, and almost building kind of like a force field around yourself,
Yeah.
you know, putting so much stress and pressure on yourself as a parent that, you know, that you need to cope, you know.
Yes. I can relate to this. I think it's similar in Germany.
Mm,
So it's not, but I love this saying, it takes a village to raise a child. So
mm,
this is awesome. And I think this should really get into the minds of the parents to say, hey, you're not alone. There are
mm.
people around you who really are knowledge, experience to support you in
Yeah,
different areas. That doesn't mean you have to you give all your responsibility away. So just
exactly.
to get those diamonds on the outside inside of your family. So I
Mm.
think this is wonderful. What would you say is it that kids struggle mostly nowadays? Is there a topic that shows up for them? Have you found anything or
Yeah, I think generally it can just be boiled down to just stress. You
Mhm.
know, I, s- I kind of quite like the analogy that kids being born into the world these days. It's just kind of like um, I suppose in some respect, like turning up late to the office party. Just everybody's already drunk. You kind of turn up and you just kind of like you you just kind of they've already got the conversations going and having a laugh, and you just kind of like find it difficult to just kind of like fit in to what's going on. And I think that the way the world is right now, and kids who, in my opinion, are just a lot more switched on and a lot more in tune with what we're possibly going to talk about. With uh, to do with their gifts and their purpose. That they want to bring to the world, but they they're kind of like born into this world. And I had this very interesting conversation with Natalie Ledwell the other day. She's the owner of Mind Movies, and she's on a international transformational council at the moment. And she really hammered it home. And she was just talking about from the business perspective to do with sales of her product at the moment, that people are finding it so difficult, to find the spare money to actually even buy the Mind Movies product, because everybody's just in this kind of like struggle of trying to survive,
Mhm.
and the stresses and strains which go along with that. I think kids being born into the world today just kind of pick up on that, and they just kind of like take a bit of a step back, because they, in some way, I think they intuitively know that this is not how it should be. The
Mhm.
life shouldn't be,
Yes, right.
this stressful. And then they get into the schooling system, and again, I don't know what it's like in Germany. I kind of expect it could be similar to what it is like in the UK. But oh my gosh, I think one of the things that really, I'm going a bit off on one now, because this is just reminded me of probably like one of the first real kind of pieces of the jigsaw which started fitting together with me, was for my when I went to a school meeting with my daughter. And it was just in the build up to her GCSEs, which are the exams which you take when you're 16 years old.
Mhm.
And the amount of stress which was being poured onto these children, I can't actually. I sat through that whole meeting, and actually, in the school hall where we had the meeting, they had this beautiful, school mission statement,
Mhm.
which was all along the lines of, giving each child, the opportunity to discover their own unique gifts and skills, and
Ah,
setting them up to win and take those out into the world, and give their gifts. And I sat there through this meeting. I turned up to the meeting. I was like, wow, this is just like the best school ever. And then I sat there in this meeting and I was just like, and you know, the head teacher actually sat there and told us, yeah, that as
Mhm.
parents, under no circumstances whatsoever were we to, make any calls of judgment as to whether our child was well enough to come into school or not. That if they were sick at home, that we should make them go into school, yeah,
Whoa.
and that the teachers will decide whether our child is well enough or not to stay at school. And if they're too ill, then they'll send them home, but otherwise they'll just make them just like plow on through it, keep going. Just oh my, the amount of stress which is
Wow.
being put onto the kids in to perform, uh, and and the stress which inadvertently they may have through just with with uh, with their parents just hustling and trying to make ends meet, um and yeah, um it can cause that kind of like disengagement for kids, and it can also manifest itself, I think, in many different ways. In terms of behavioural and emotional problems, relationship problems. With that that yeah that is so prevalent now with kids.
Yeah. This is a very good example, I think, of having this picture of this beautiful world with meaningful thoughts around, yes, develop your own gift, find your uniqueness, and then the gap between applying everything. So,
Mhm.
how does it look like? Is she the head teacher or the teacher or the school? Are they really aligned to their mission, what they
Yeah,
want to give? So,
yeah.
and I
Well,
think this
very, very, very obviously not. And the beautiful and the beautiful thing about that story. Sorry, um, y- you know, in the framework of schools, and I know, and I've met them. There are teachers who are, I'm not by any stretch of the
yeah.
imagination, painting education, and tarring all teachers with that same brush.
Mhm.
I had that experience in school, and I went home that evening with such an incredible sense of disease,
Mhm.
disease, whatever, like misalignment, like you said, of what was
Yeah.
going on. But I know, I personally know teachers who are working in schools who are extraordinarily aligned. Just that they are just the most magnificent, beautiful human beings who are just wanting that for children and
Mhm.
leading kids, through that path. Um, but yeah, the most beautiful thing about that story was that actually, when I woke up the next morning, I had yeah, I just felt so uncomfortable that evening, and I just couldn't put my finger on what was going on what exactly had gone wrong, or what how my daughter's school could like be like this. Um,
Mhm.
and I woke up the next morning, and actually it was a catering magazine, so I'd already launched the food truck by this time, and I actually had a catering magazine like dropped in through the front door, and it had a full like like 3-4 page article, and I'd love to remember who it was, who had actually written this article, but it was just beautifully written, basically explaining everything that I'd felt that
Mhm.
evening before, that I'd been to my
Wow.
daughter's school. And it was all just about how the education system had developed and just become a bit broken and a bit kind of misguided and miscited in just kind of trying to achieve goals, and in the way that they're trying to achieve their goals. And yeah, just going back to what I was talking about, about those real true teachers, that I know, where they are, and it used a beautiful analogy. I can remember it to this day of the teachers being more like gardeners, so that, and this is the way that we see kids in the life coaching that we do, in that every single child is born with that seed of potential within inside the soil of their soul, and that it isn't your job to just like kind of try and force it out of them or stress it out of them. Is to be that nurturing um, that nurturing what do you call it, influence that can feed and water and actually enable that seed to grow.
Yeah. Okay. That's nice. So if parents work with you, kids work with you, actually kids work with you, how will their life look like after working with you?
Yeah,
How can I make a picture of in my brain about this?
yeah, so I I partner with parents, and yeah, I work with kids.
Mhm.
And so what we've done is we've developed a modularized coaching program,
Mhm.
which spans over 6 months.
Mhm.
It's 12 modules long, and through that we lead um, we lead kids through a process of discovery and insights. Um, and it starts off with just, teaching them how they are amazing creators and how they are actually creating their own reality all the time, that the way they think about the world, can really influence what shows up in their lives. Um, yeah, we go through modules to do with enhancing learning, about how to make that more effortless and enjoyable. About mastering emotions, we do some huge. I mean, there's just
Mm.
just massive topics.
Wow,
Mastering emotions and how to become more resilient.
that's great.
To do with
Because you never know what crisis will pass your way and what you are going through, and if you are really emotionally stable and resilient and centered, actually, you can go through each challenge, can't you?
Yeah, so emotional resilience, emotional IQ is just being given such a great press nowadays, and it's about time. Um, how I was brought up, and I think most people of my generation, we just kind of just went through life really, just kind of as an emotional an emotional pinball, just
Mhm.
just being bounced around and never really understanding and being given the tools and skills to be able to label and in some way be able to deal with the emotions in an intelligent way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's huge. Yeah.
Yeah. Would you say there is well, not a dark side, but a hidden side whilst children grow up that no one is talking about?
Yeah, so I mean, um, all that previously, that we've talked about,
Mhm.
um, you know, there's so all that stuff that we talked about, it certainly wasn't talked about in around the dinner table in my home, and I think it's becoming more common now. But it's because a lot of these things are actually really coming to light and really being being given some real kind of authenticity, or authenticity is probably not the right word, but what do you call it? Kind of verification, through the great science that's being done. For example, I know you're a great fan of Joe Dispenza's work.
Yeah, I
We've
am.
we've talked about that before, and the steps which have been made, even just within the last 5 or 10 years, to do with really understanding on a scientific level our inner world, which previously has been extraordinarily nebulous. Well, a very long time ago, it was just completely left to religion to sort out. All our values and emotions, and the way we lived our lives was just kind of left on one side, and science was on another. But they've
Right.
converged in such an amazing way now, that a lot of this stuff, a lot of the skills and techniques and insights that we're actually presenting to kids nowadays, are, I dare say it, even myself, up to a year and a half ago, I certainly didn't feel equipped to be able to talk about emotions and relationships, and the abundance mentality, about authenticity, about a passion and a purpose, and
Yeah,
a
right.
meaning in life. Um,
Passion, purpose,
but
meaning, like this.
through
Yeah.
this, yeah, through this conversion of science, and being able to kind of like look at and study our inner world, which at the end of the day is invisible, is very nebulous. What it's done is it's allowed people, very intelligent scientists and great thinkers, to be able um, to boil down these very complex subjects, and present them in very understandable ways, which can now be explained to a 6-year-old.
Yeah.
Explain to a 6-year-old, about subconscious and how their brain works and how they can set themselves up to win, and have those feelings of abundance in their life, and kind of understand what limiting beliefs are, and how they can bust through those, and and create for themselves that feeling of just being, feeling invincible, and being able to, do anything and achieve their dreams. All that has come about just has really come to a head over these past few years, and it just it just really drives it home. The way we are now, we're just standing on the shoulders of giants, who have just set this up for us, to be able to just, for those who have the passion and purpose, to be able to just kind of like really, jump ahead of the curve, and just really bring these incredibly complex subjects, right down to kids, to just start them, start them off in life with, with the sails up, with just, uh, with a real direction and meaning and purpose, which, I truly think was, in a lot of ways, just unavailable to me,
Yeah.
when I was 6, 8, 10, 12 years old.
Right.
These things
Well,
weren't
we are now
around.
in an information area.
Yeah,
It's the information time. Information are very quickly accepted, and you can gather it all over the world, wherever you are. And sometimes a little too much, I think, but so that you have to focus on what's good and what's not so good. And
yeah, Yeah, well,
the right
yeah,
way.
an information age where we're kind of drowning in information, but we're just starving for any sort of levels of meaning and purpose and
Yeah,
fulfillment. There's just such huge words which are just kind of just being just drowned out by busyness and information,
yeah.
and just helping kids being able to kind of like sift through that and just cut it right back.
What would
Uh,
you say is your strength if you work with the kids or partner with your parents and working with the kids? I think this is a great picture. So what would you consider is your strength? Oh, no, you're frozen.
yeah, thank you.
Oh,
Well, have I? Can you hear me now?
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, thank you. So, I'm just a big kid anyway, and all these concepts which we've just been talking about now, we actually bring those to kids, through just having fun and
Mhm.
play. And so, having fun and playing for a living is just, it's,
We forget
it,
this as adults.
it's just my ideal job. For some people, that would just be an absolute nightmare. For 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 me, it's my ideal of a dream job. Being able to bring this work to kids, like we say, to be able to really just kind of like dig down with them and start really kind of helping them to lock into their passion and purpose and their actual reason for being here on planet Earth. But
Mhm,
so I can relate to kids quite easily,
mhm.
and you know, I just always have done and have had no barriers at all to just seeing kids as equals, and just working with kids is just such a massive joy to me because, well, oof, wow, got a bit emotional there, just like even thinking about it. But
Wow.
you know the the in a lot of cases, the kids are my teachers.
Mhm.
They're unlocking things and teaching me things, making me look at my life and the world in such extraordinary ways, which I never even considered before.
Yeah, great. Yeah, I think this is awesome because if you can really relate to the children and you can contact them on a deeper level so that they are just following you and you've got the knowledge and you're able to give it through the play and through, yes, to have fun. And I always think, I know that if you have fun with something, you are very good in learning. So it just takes you seconds, whilst if you have struggles with learning, you think, oh, it doesn't get into my brain. I have to do it again. I don't like it. So, but having fun is
Yeah,
just easy
we've
to
all been there.
learn.
Yeah,
Okay, great. So how can people reach out to you? What's your offer? How can they contact you? They say,
thank
oh,
you.
I need the support.
Yeah, so we've got a whole bunch of offers. As I said, I am based in South Manchester in the UK, and most of my coaching actually occurs, one-on-one with kids in person.
Mhm,
I do coaching online, but we have a whole range of offers, basically starting with just going through sorry, not some of the modules which I talked about before, uh, with some helpful videos for parents to actually be able to coach their own kids,
mhm.
with some guidance.
That's great.
Um, and just right up to the opportunity to have me along in person, coaching your child one on one,
Mhm.
and everything in between. So yeah,
Great.
Yeah, so we are at empowermentcoach.org. Empowerment
Oh,
Coach, that's all one word, .org. And so, yeah, you can go on there and check us out.
great. Thank you. This was awesome. I think this is such a good contribution because it's so insightful and it's so helpful. Our children might be the leaders of tomorrow. So they are, I don't know, might be, no one knows, but if we can raise them with resilience, with confidence, and with joy, and with a purpose and a mission, how can our world look like? I think this is very visionary.
Yeah, Blanka, I love that when you said that our children might be the leaders of tomorrow. I'm sure you were talking about like our children, as in the guys who are who live in your house right now. I mean, our children, the planet's children, are the leaders of tomorrow. I mean, these
Yeah,
these are the guys who are going to be paying it forward, and that's what really digs into uh, a huge driver for me. It's just seeing that and in what a way, in whatever way I can, just being able to, just pay it forward and just, like I said, just help kids get ahead of the curve, to just really, just start bringing some more love and light and harmony and into this world where seemingly at the moment it seems to be so lacking in the leaders and the and the stuff that we see going on about us. But yeah, all of tomorrow is inside the minds of our children,
right.
and just having the pleasure of just being able to help them get in tune with that and be able to unlock that. It's just a privilege and a joy. Yeah, thank you,
Wonderful.
Blanka.
Thank you for being my guest here on this podcast. And yes, it was wonderful to get to know more about you and what your offer is and what your help is. So I like to thank you. Thank you to the audience who is listening now. And I like everyone to encourage follow this podcast, Renew Motherhood, and new episodes will follow too. Have a great day.